Okay, this is Unit 3 review, which Unit 1 and 2 were together, so yes, it's Unit 3 review, but it's our second test we've taken. You need to have out your calculator, have out some highlighters, have out your calculator, have out your journal. You need to have all these things out and ready because that's what you're going to need for this. I'm going to walk you through how to do every problem, but your job is to actually do this. You will get a grade on this, and you need to make sure you can solve these problems when handed to you. Some of them are tough, some of them are not, but you need to be able to work through how to do all of these problems. That is your assignment. And if you copy down everything I copied down, you will have the answers, and all you have to do is turn it in. So I am essentially giving you 100 if you follow what I'm saying. But you have to listen to what I'm saying because I walk through my thought process. So let's begin. All right, the first one, it's slopes with a table. So when you deal with slopes in a table, it's change of y over change of x. So how far is this changing? This is going up by 5 every time, up by 5. And this, it's going down by 10. So it is change of y over change of x. The change is negative 10 over the y, which is 5. Now, love the calculator. They're our friends. So I'm going to go second alpha, alpha y equals, and I get a fraction, negative 10 over 5, and I get 2. So my slope is negative 2 for this first one. Okay. For B, again, it's going up by 2, up by 2. And this is going up by 12. So, change of y over change of x, so it's 12 over 2. Put it in my calculator. 12 over 2. And my answer, m equals 6. So it is 6. Okay. Next one. Pick 2 points, and I didn't say this before. I should have. This needs to change to 17 for it to be constant. So I apologize. But that's okay. I'm still going to pick 2 points. And I'm going to pick just 2 random points, and I'm going to do my point formula. So it's y minus y, x minus x. So y is 7 minus 9, those are both y's, over 5, that goes with the 7, minus 13. So in my calculators. And this you're going to love because you can do this all in one step. Do alpha, stat plot, make it to have a fraction. And then I can just put this in exactly. 7 minus 9, then I go down, 5 minus 13. Look, it is exactly on my calculator exactly what I had here. I'm going to press enter and it gives me the answer. So my slope is 1/4. There it is. Now, let's move on. Okay, which of these could possibly be a y-intercept and why? Well, look back at your notes, think back to what we talked about. Y-intercepts are where where it hits the y-axis, like right here, the line where it hits the y-axis. So that means the x coordinate And I'm just going to abbreviate. The x-coordinate, I'm going to take off this, I'm tired of it squeaking. Hope you can still hear me. The x-coordinate must be 0. Okay, so to have a y-intercept, the x must be 0. So let's go through and label all these. This is the x, this is the y, this is the x, this is the y, x, y, x, y, x, y. So anytime the x-coordinate is 0, that is a possible y-intercept. So this one cannot be because the x is not 0. But this one is a possibility. This could be 1. This one too, because the x is 0. This one as well, because the x is 0. I'm only caring about this x.
Tara Drake, your ride is out front waiting for you. Tara Drake.
The x cannot be, so this would have to go away. So there's 3 possibilities, and why? The x-coordinate is 0. It's because it's where it hits the y-axis. Okay. It now says find the slope with 2 sets of points. Again, our formula, or what we do, is y minus y, x minus x. So here are my 2 y's, here are my 2 x's. So y's have to go first. 2 minus negative 2 over 0 minus 3. Again, get out the calculator. Alpha stat plot, and you just type it in exactly the way you wrote it. It simplifies it and it gives you the answer. So my answer is, so m equals negative 4 over 3. So that is for A. Now let's try B. Again, it's negative 7, because that's my y, minus negative 4 divided by 2 minus 6. Alpha, negative 7 minus negative 4. 2 minus 6. Oh, I know what I did. What I did is I didn't make it a negative. So it's negative 7 minus negative 4. 2 minus 6. And my answer, m equals 3/4. This is my answer for B. Last but not least, so it would be negative 3 minus negative 5 over 5 minus 2. Alpha, this is why we have this. Okay, so it would be negative 3 minus negative 5, 5 minus 2. 2/3. So this is C, is 2/3. M equals 2/3. Okay? Those are your 3. That is how you do it. It's this formula. This is when you have 2 points. Okay, number 5. Alright, this one you have to find slope and you have to find the intercept. Highlight your y line, because you know anytime these graphs run into the y, that is where your y-intercept will be. So as it runs into this line, that's your y-intercept. Well, what is it running into? It runs in at positive 2. So positive 2 is my intercept. Now, I can pick any points that I like, and I'm going to prove it with 2 of them this time. Alright, remember, slope, you do rise over run. Okay, so I'm going to rise, and I'm going to run. So I'm going to rise and run. Okay, so I rose 1, 2, and I ran 1. That reduces to be a positive 2. But now let's prove it. This is for CD. Let's prove it with AB. Again, rise over run. My run is going to be pink. My rise is going to be yellow. Okay, so I rose 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and I ran 1, 2, 3. If I put this in my calculator, 6 over 3, I should get positive 2, and I do. So my slope is positive 2. It did not matter which one I did. It would have gotten the same thing no matter what, because this was AB, this was CD, and they both got me the same answer of 2. So the slope was 2, which is the rise over the run, and then it hit at positive 2 on the y-axis, because this is your y. Let's look down here. Your y. It hits again right there at positive 2. Now, pick any 2 points that you want. I'm going to pick these. We rise and then we run. So I'm going to rise, that's yellow, and I'm going to run, and it's pink. Alright, it's kind of hard to see, but that's okay. So I rose 1, 2, 3, 4. That was my rise, and it was positive, but I ran negatively. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I ran negative 6. Put this in my calculator. Alpha stat plot. 4, negative 6. My answer is negative 2/3 when reduced. So that's mine. Now, it doesn't ask me to it on this question, but I could put it in my y-intercept form. Remember, because this was M, this is B. Mx plus B. I could put it in as y negative 2/3 x plus 2. It doesn't ask me for it, but we have all the information and we have practiced this. Okay, let's go on to 7. 7 is the great one. This one is my favorite on this. This is practical knowledge, and I love practical knowledge. Alright, so it says determine the slope of the larger plane. This is my large plane. We're going to call him large, and this is my small one. Alright, you have to look for 2 points that actually hit a line, and it's actually kind of hard to see. There's one right here, there's one right here. So slope is rise over run. I didn't go over quite enough. I didn't go up quite enough. So rise over run. Write it down. I expect you to see it on your test even. The rise was from this dot 1, 2, 3. But wait, I have to check what this is going up by. Okay? We talked about this being a different unit. So along the side, what is it counting by? It has 2 lines and 1,000, 2 lines, 2,000. So it's going up by 500. So this would be 1,500. This would be 2,500. This would be 3,500. You can fill them in, but I do want you to write count by 500s. And this one we have to still check. Look, it's counting by 1. So count by 1. Check it every time. So instead of saying 3, I have to actually go 500, 1,000, 1,500. My rise was 1,500, and my run is going to be counting by 1. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Alrighty. Put it in my calculator. Alpha y equals 1,500 over 5. When it divides and it simplifies, it becomes 300. So the slope of the larger is 300. Now it says, what is the y-intercept for the smaller plane? Again, here we go. This is our y. I'm going to get even a different color. This is my y. Where does this is the smaller plane. Where does it line hit? It hits right there at origin. So it hits at origin or 0. The y-intercept, which we call b, is 0. So that is the y-intercept of the smaller plane. What does the slope of each line mean in terms of miles per hour? Well, this is kind of a two-part question because it depends on which plane you're talking about. So if we're talking about the larger plane, we've already found the slope. We say it's 300. But what does that mean? It means 300 miles per hour. So for the larger plane, and I'm going to actually write this, the larger plane travels 300 miles per 1 hour. Okay? So now let's talk about the smaller plane. Well, we have to find the slope of the smaller plane. So let's go back up here. This is for the large plane. This is the large plane. Let's go for the small plane. This one's a little bit easier because it's more consistent. Find 2. My rise is yellow. My run is pink. So my rise, it rose 1, which is really 500, over 1. So my slope is going to be 500. So the smaller plane travels 500 miles per hour, per 1 hour. So who's faster? The smaller plane by quite a bit, because it's 500 miles per hour. This one's 300 miles per hour. The smaller plane is much, much, much faster. That is why the line is sharper. It's getting more straight. And the slower is the more tilted it is. So the big plane, he's slower. The small plane, it's much faster. Okay? Those are where, that's why we use these graphs, is it tells us this information very quickly. Now, this last one. Write a scenario of what could be happening with the smaller plane on the graph. Well, we know the smaller plane travels 500 miles per hour. So the smaller plane travels faster, but when do they actually equal the same amount? When they are at, when they have traveled 3,000 miles, they both travel, it took them 6 hours to travel that. So even though the smaller plane is doing it faster, it started it at different ground, at 0, while this plane started this speed at 15,000 feet. So you could say anything. There's quite a few. I'm going to say the smaller plane can travel 2,000 miles in 4 hours. And I get this from looking here. 2,000 miles, I'm looking at the smaller one, 2,000 miles, 4 hours. So I was just getting that information from the graph. Okay, number 8. What is the slope of the line above? Be sure to check your axis and how they're numbered. Woohoo! I even gave you hints. Pay attention. You won't have that on your test, but gosh, you need to know it. You need to pay attention to what is being numbered. Looking at our y, it's counting by 1, so that one shouldn't be so bad. But look, our y, excuse me, this is the x, this is the y, is counting by tens. Okay, so still I have to rise over run. Still I'm rising over running. So I rose 10, 20 was my rise. And I ran 1. So I put that in my calculator and you're going to find M equals 20. 20 watts. I want this to mean something. So I want you to tell me what that really means. It means the score, you get a score of 20 every question. So 20 points for every question is what it's essentially saying. Number of questions and score. So you get 20 points for every question I assume you do correctly. So think of it that way. Okay, on to number 9. Says the table and the graph show the total cost of party invitations, which includes a design fee. Choose the correct answer. The first one is done for you. Okay, so we have to figure out how much it's changing by. It's changing by 10. And this one is changing by 5. Okay? So, change over y, so it's change over y over change over x. So 10 over 5. We put that in our calculator. 10 over 5. And your answer is 2. So my slope is 2. M equals 2. So slope of the line is 2. Now y-intercept. We have to have x to equal 0. So if these are all going up by 10, let's go backtrack and subtract 10. Because we're just going the other way. That's going to make it 0. And let's backtrack this one. Instead of adding 5, let's subtract 5. 20 minus is 15. So the y-intercept is $15. So the equation of the line is y equals 10x plus my 15. But I don't know where I got 10. It's not 10. Y equals 2x plus 15. Sorry if you're screaming at the screen or screaming at the computer. You're right. The slope goes in front of the x and it was 2. So what does this mean? This means that the design fee was $15 and for every 2 invitations it cost for every invitation it's $2. So every invitation is $2 plus a $15 design fee. That's what that translates to in like real terms. So we get to pretty much write that down. We get to say the design fee is $15 and you pay $2 per, and I should do dollars, per, we're talking about invitations, per card, per invitation. So, oh my goodness, guys. I apologize. I did it wrong. Let me go back. Rewind. Okay. What I did wrong was y needs to be on top. This needs to be 5 over 10. So that makes my slope a half. So it changes it to 1/2. And I knew, see, I was stumbling because I had already worked this and I had messed this up. So each card is 50 cents, so it's half of $1. So you pay 50 cents per invitation. I knew that was too high. I've worked this out and I was just doing it wrong. I am so sorry. So, let me redo this. So, you're paying 50 cents per invitation plus a $15 design fee. And honestly, this is a very real world. If anyone's buying graduation announcements or wedding invitations, they do a design fee to set it up, and then it's a cost per card. And so it's 50 cents per invitation to be printed plus the $15 design fee. So, sorry guys, we fixed it. Okay, number 10. Alright, it says, what is the slope of the line? Be sure to check your units. Alright, pay attention here. This one is hard to read, but it's counting by hundreds every other one. So that means this is 50, this one right in here is 150, this one down here is like 250, 350, 450, okay? And I know it's hard to see. Now, what is this counting by? It's counting by 20s, but it's skipping a line, so it's really counting by 10s every time. So to find the slope of the line, you have to find 2 good dots. And you're going to do rise over run. My rise is yellow. My run is pink. So I'm going to rise, and I'm counting by 10. So write this on the side. Count by 10. And this is count by 50. So I'm going to count 10, 20. So 20 is my rise, and my run, and I'm going to count by 50s, 50, 100. So now I have that. That's so far my rise and run. Put in my calculator. 20 over 100. Man, I'm having a day, guys. over 100, and your answer is 1/5. So my slope is 1/5. So what that means is, excuse me, for every $1 you can get 5 text messages. So every $1 you get 5, I'm going to write that out, text messages. Okay, let's go to the next one, medical cost. It says, what is the slope of the sides A, B, and D, E? So we're going to have slope on 2 different lines. Again, pay attention to what it's numbering by. This time it's counting by 5, 5, 15, 25. And this one is still counting by 5, 5, 15, 20. So we're going to, I don't like how they did it. They have rise and run, so I'm going to actually do my rise up and my run over. It's the same thing, guys. I just prefer it. It makes a little bit more sense to rise and run. So I rose, and I have to count by 5 and count by 5. Notice I write this every time so I remind myself what I have to count by. So I count by 5, 10, and I run 5. This is for A, B, C. Alright, put it in your calculator. 10 over 5, and you get 2. So the slope of AB is 2. Now let's try this one. And we can do it the way they did it. Rise over run. It's negative this time. And this is D, E, F. Okay. So my run is negative. I got to count by fives. 5, 10, 15, 20. But negative over 5, 10. And that's again negative. Second, negative 20 over negative 10 is still positive 2. So this equals positive 2. They both have the same slope, and we know that. Number 12. The graph shows fuel usage for a truck that gets 16 miles per gallon. So what they're essentially wanting is when you're at 1 gallon, it should be at 16. So if I follow up 1 gallon to about where 16 is that on my line? I'm going to make it a little bigger. So I followed 1 up to about where 16 is that on my line? No, my line is way down here. So let's look at G. I'm going to follow 1 up to about where 16 is. Does that hit my line? Yep, it does. So G is looking pretty good. Now let's do H. Follow 1 until you get to about 16. Is it on your line? No, it's really close, but it doesn't quite make it. And then 1 to about 16. Oh, this one's actually above. Sorry, this one's actually above where it is. So the only one that actually matches up is G. And I did that just by plotting my points. And I took 16 miles for 1 gallon. For 1 gallon. So 16 over 1. Or I could translate it to this is my X, this is my Y. So I was looking for the coordinate 1, 16. Alright. 13. Can you find the slope? What this is trying to really ask is looking at the right angles they have drawn. Can you find slope with the right angles that they have drawn? Your answer for this one should be yes. It is yes because why or why not? And I'm going to write B actually down here because B requires some writing. Because what were the things they had to have? It had to have 2 points. 2 points on the line. And it had to make, so that's what it had to have, and it had to make a right triangle. All accounts, that's what's happened. That is a right angle and that is a right angle, so we can find slope. So let's do it. Okay? I'm going to use this little guy. Because they're not labeled, we're going to have to assume they're counting by 1. So it is still rise over run. So I rose 1. Here, let me highlight. I rose 2. And I ran negatively 1. So my slope is negative 2 over 1 or negative 2. You can't see my negative 2. So, now let's look at this. These are the ones they're talking about, these right triangles. Alright, looking at this one, can you use it to find the slope? No, because it doesn't have 2 points on the line. Now, this one it does. So, if we're labeling it, this one, can you find slope? Yes, but you have to use this one. Why or why not? It has 2 points. One of them, we're going to label him A, or we'll label him number 1. 1 has 2 points on line and makes a right triangle. But this one does not. So I cannot use this one to find slope. But since there is one I can use to find slope, let's do it. Rise over run. We rose 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And we ran 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So my slope is 7 over 8. Rise over run. 15. We're almost done, guys. 15. Which graph represents the line containing -2, 1 and has a slope of 1, 4? Okay, this is only tough because they don't actually do all the grid lines. So let's first look for the ones that have -2, 1. So -2, 1 is going to be over 2 up 1. This one does over 2 up 1. Oh, that one does. Over 2 up 1. Nope, that one doesn't contain the point. Over 2 up 1. Nope, doesn't contain the point. So now we're down to F and G. Now, here's where it gets tough. The slope is 1, 4. So this is the M. So this means the rise is 1. The run is 4. So I have to go up 1 over 4. So I'm going to go up 1 and then I'm going to count over 1, 2, 3, 4. Did that hit on my line as well? Yay, it did. This one's doing pretty good. Now let's try it on this one. I rise 1 and I go over 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So my new point should be right there. Nope, it's not on the line. So G is out, so F is my answer. That one's tough, guys, but it's only tough by what they gave you. You can find slope really, really easy. And you are really good at pretty counting and getting over and creating the lines. It's just that you're having to kind of guesstimate because they didn't draw the grids. The one on the test is not that hard. Okay, 16. Woo, these are fun. All right, these are tough, but here we go. Heather is planning a fishing trip, and she does not own a boat. To rent the boat, she must pay an hourly rate and pay a deposit. She's been told that the boat rental company costs $67 for 2 hours and $111 for 4 hours. So there's my information. We're going to say this is my Y and this is my X. Okay, so we're going to kind of do Y minus Y over X minus X because we're given 4 things and we don't know, we don't have a table, we don't have a grid, we have nothing but those 2 points. So we're going to have to go 67 minus the 111 over 67 is 2 hours and this is 4 hours. And so this is going to get me how much it is per hour. So when I use my calculator that I love and adore, I can just put it in. 67 minus 111, 2 minus 4, 2 minus 4. So I put it all in, all together, and it gives me the answer of 22. That means it's $22 per hour. So that tells me how much it is per hour. So I know it's $22 per hour. That doesn't tell me my deposit though. If I know it's $22 per hour, that still doesn't tell me how much my deposit is. It just tells me my hourly rate that is constant. So we're going to use a little bit of 6th grade knowledge. Let's find out what it is for 1 hour when I have this. So based on this price. So for 2, I need to find out what 1 hour is. So I cross multiply divide, which really just means I'm going to divide 67 divided by 2, and I get x equals 30. Okay, I get $33.50. So I have $33.50. That's when I divide that straight in half. But I know it is $22 per hour. So, because this is what it is for 1 hour, the extra money is the deposit, is that service fee, or is that fee. So let's subtract them and find out how much more I have to pay that I don't have to pay again. So that deposit that I have to pay is $11.50. So to completely answer the question, it is $11.50. But do you see how much work I had to do? I first had to figure out slope, which was 22. Then I had to find out the unit rate, and then I had to subtract the 2. Yeah, several steps. This was step 1, this was step 2, and this was the final step that got me the answer. So guys, you've got some work to do. You have to figure it out. Okay, let's look at 17. To cater dinner, Anthony charges a flat fee plus additional charge for each meal he must prepare. If the customer wants to hire Anthony's catering service, he or she will be charged $120 for 10 meals, $190 for 20 meals, and $330 for 40 meals. So, again, let's use the y minus y over x minus x. Now let's just pick one. I'm going to pick these two. So let's go 120 minus 190 over 10 minus 20. I just picked two numbers. You could have picked the other one as well. It wouldn't have mattered. Alpha, I get 120 minus 190 and 10 minus 20. And I get 7. So my slope is 7. So how much does he charge for each meal? $7. He charges $7 for each meal. Now, that doesn't tell me his flat fee, but that's not what the question was asking. So I don't have to do this third step, or the second step for that matter, because it's not asking. It's asking just the slope, which is how much he's paying for each meal. Alright, this next one, we're not going to do it. This is not on your test, it's on the next test. And so this one we're not going to do until next. You'll see this question again. I didn't notice it until after the fact that it was on there, because we're not talking about directly affecting yet. It's not a hard question, it's just not on the test, and why prepare when there is so much more that is on the test that you need to know how to do. Alright, that's it. You're finished, but you now need to study. This is a 43-minute video. So you really need to watch the parts that you need again. If you need to, you have all weekend to look back over it. Okay, I will see you on Monday. Bye.